This is Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, a podcast and radio program presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan. Most any contemporary musical style can trace its roots back to the blues. Time Signatures explores the blues and its musical connections with captivating interviews, lively discussions, and news from the world of the blues.
You know I'm crying, baby, driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
And now, here he is, your host, Jim Ervin.
Baby, I'm home.
Man, I got to tell you, I never get bored with doing this podcast because you never know where I'm going to be recording from.
Right.
And we're recording from a secret location in Lansing.
Never know.
Yeah.
Never know, man.
And I'll never tell. It's absolutely cool. We're so glad to have everybody with us. My name is Jim Ervin, and this is Time Signatures. I am honored and pleased to have a very special musical guest with me today. I've been wanting to talk to this guy since I met him, which has only been a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
Chris Canas, or as many of you know him, Detroit's Prince of the Blues,
What's up?
is definitely not your run-of-the-mill musician. He started early in life, which we're going to talk about, with some incredible inspiration and guidance from his mother, Angela, and his father, Leonard, and so many others. And the rest of the story is what follows. So I want to welcome you. Thanks so much for coming to Time Signatures. I appreciate having you here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
It's
man.
it's going to be fun. I can see this already, just the
yeah.
give and take and having a good time. But I want to dive right in here and just ask you, what are your earliest memories of music when you were growing up?
Earliest memory of music for me was probably just hanging out at home with mom. You know, my parents were ballroom dancers, and they used to do a lot of that stuff, and used to do hustles. And my mom has always sang. My dad used to sing all the time. Not professionally or anything, just, sing me to sleep or something, singing Anita Baker or Luther Vandross or whatnot. That would probably be my earliest memory. And I think my first concert she took me to, I'm surprised I remember this, I was 3, and she took me downtown, and we saw Ray Charles, and that was the first thing. And then after that, I saw Criss Cross, which was weird.
What do you remember about Ray's concert?
I remember it was really hot, and it was outside right downtown, and I just remember everybody was really quiet. That's what I remember most. It was very quiet, and all you heard was Ray and his ensemble.
I'm getting goosebumps.
And man, it was and then he hit Georgia, and that was it. That was it's just dead silence. That's all I remember.
I can't even imagine. I never got to see Ray. I never got to see BB.
Mm-hmm.
I did send my mom to see BB King for her birthday one year. And she said, "Do you want to go with me?" And I said, "No." I said, "I've got to work. I'm just, I'll go see him sometime with you." And that was the last time, that he was in the area.
Oh, really?
My mom got to see him. She goes, it was so funny because she called me up and she says, "He brought Lucille and everything." And I'm like, Mom, he always has Lucille. That's his deal,
That's his jam.
Yeah. But so years later, she asked me what I wanted to do for my birthday. Mm-hmm. And I said, I want to go see the Moody Blues.
Okay.
I've always,
nice.
My mom, we have this cross-generational thing that sounds like very much like you and your mom.
Yep.
And she introduced me to some of her music, and I introduced her to some of mine. Mm-hmm. And the Moody Blues, I'll never forget it. Nights in White Satin was my jam growing up. That was the song.
That's the song right there.
And I have seen the Moody's 3 times in concert.
Yeah.
But the time with my mom was very special to me because I'll never forget towards the end of the concert, we were like 75 feet off the stage.
Right.
And she started walking up towards the stage and she was just kind of clapping and kind of swooning and, doing this. And I'm like, oh man, this is so cool to watch, watch her have that moment.
Right.
And I wish I could have been there to see her with BB because I'm sure she was very much the same way.
I was just going to say, I know I was. I think I saw BB twice. Once was at the Fox. Actually, both times were at the Fox Theater.
I saw the Moody's there at Fox.
Such a great room, too.
Isn't it beautiful?
It's sonically just awesome. Awesome to hear, especially for blues, too. I think some other people have seen, like, Brian McKnight or something, and they said, like, the bass was too heavy for his style of music. But, like, for blues and like, you know, instruments and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
not just like a piped in beat. It's great.
Well, I've seen the video of Bonamassa
Yeah.
down there when he brought Larry out on stage.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that video
And that
too.
was when he basically relaunched Larry's career with
Right.
that album.
Yep. Yep.
And it was such a cool thing to watch because I've known Larry for several years, and you can't help but root for your friends, you know?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
it was really cool to see him, you know, and of course I would love to see Joe. I haven't seen him yet. I'm actually going to see Buddy Guy Friday night.
I've seen Buddy Guy too.
He's going to be at
he's awesome,
the
man.
Meyer Garden.
Where's the Meyer?
Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a Fred Meyer Garden, and we're going to be going down there on Friday evening. So we're kind of dating this. This is the middle of June, so for you know, it's not going to get aired for a minute, but that's okay.
That's all right. That's all right.
And I'm really looking forward to it. And then we're going to see the Warren Treaty next week for the
Ooh,
Sonic Lunch in Ann
awesome
Arbor.
group. Yeah, man.
And we're going to see Thornetta in October down in Albion at the Balm on a Monday night.
Yep.
So
Yep.
this is so cool because this is like my year for the blues. I'm doing all kinds of stuff and meeting people and talking to really cool people and I'm hoping to get Toronzo Canan on.
Good man.
And
Good man.
oh boy, does he put on a show!
Man, I'm telling you, like I first met Toronzo. It was here in Lansing. I first met
Okay.
Toronzo. It was during Michigan Blues Fest.
Okay, yeah,
It was called something else back then. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say what it was called.
that's all right.
It was Old Town Blues Fest. It was called
Okay.
Old Town Blues Fest. And yeah, I was a little bit late, and like I had to have Frog like start the first song because I don't know what was going on that day. I don't remember now, but and I remember Toronzo had like his overalls and his hat, his pimp hat. You know, he always got the pimp hat on.
yeah.
And he came up to me after my set and he was like, "Man, that was fire. That was the Chicago way." I was like, Chicago way, huh? All right, I got
Wrong,
it.
it's
Nice
Detroit.
nice little segue. Well, he has the album Chicago Way.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's an honor for me to hear you say that was the Chicago way because it's a lot of your players actually migrated from Detroit to
Absolutely.
Chicago. So
Yeah.
you might not know that.
No, I
A
didn't.
lot of people didn't know that.
That's fantastic. He put on a great show down at the Jackson
Always.
Blues Fest.
Man.
Joanna Connor closed out the night.
Joanna, oh my God,
Yeah.
Miss Joanna.
Yeah, you were. Where were you?
Man.
You were in Detroit or something that weekend. It was not this past weekend, but the weekend before.
I was here.
Were you up here?
think I
No,
was
no,
here.
no. It was.
During
Yeah,
Jackson
yeah,
Blues
but it was
Fest?
the night after you were here.
Right. Okay.
So the 10th.
So they were on the Friday.
And I think you were in Ann Arbor on the hill, right?
Yep.
There you go.
I was at Top of the Park on
Top of
on
the
that
park. Yeah, I
Friday.
got it right.
Yep.
Okay. So all right, we could do this all night.
We could.
We
Yeah,
actually. But I want to get back to this and talk about you a little bit here. What was your favorite song when you were growing up? Did you have one that just sticks in your mind? And
It varied as I progressed. It started off as it was a Luther Vandross song. It was Bad Boy Having a Party.
Okay.
That was my jam when I was in diapers, pretty much. And then I don't know what this song did to me at the time, but as I was getting older, I heard an Aretha Franklin, old Aretha Franklin version. She was a little bit heavier back then. She still had the fro. You know, she still sat at the piano all shy. And it was Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Ooh.
That was like one of the first songs that broke me down to tears. And from that moment on, I was like, this is what I need to be like. Like, this is what I need to do musically, is move people and bring out the emotions that she had in that song. And that one single performance of just her and the piano and then like two background singers. I think it was on a talk show, Ed Sullivan, or I don't remember what show it was, but he just was like, Aretha Franklin. And then she just, bam, gentle, smooth. She didn't overexert herself.
there's got to be video like that somewhere. I'm
There
gonna have to.
is a video,
On
and
YouTube,
I go
or-
back to it every now and then to remind myself, this is what you need to be.
You
right
need to
here.
send me a link to that.
I will send it to
Seriously,
you.
I want to see
I'll
that.
send it to you.
Because
Yep.
I'll tell you what, I love when you get to see an artist redo a song
Mm-hmm.
that somebody else did, do a cover of it, but make it their own.
Man, it's
You know?
it's hers now.
Yeah,
it belongs
yeah.
to her now. So
That's crazy.
Because
So-
that's
That's
that was
crazy.
one.
So I want to go back. I want to walk you through your younger years. You started playing cornet in school,
Yep. Fifth grade.
but you found your way down another path, didn't you?
I did. There was and I'll never forget this. This man was pivotal into what I do now.
Okay.
His name was David Drake. He was my instructor in middle school and my football coach.
Okay.
And I told him, I was like, I don't want to play football. I'm a soccer player. That's what I've played soccer for 15 years. And he was like, no, I think you'd be good at football. I was like, all right, fine, whatever. As long as I can continue to do band and football at the same time, then we're good. We don't, I'll do for you, you do for me. Let me play band, and then we'll go that way.
Right on.
So I was in 6th grade, and finally got to trumpet or cornet rather, same instrument pretty much. It's slightly different.
Right.
And I remember he wanted me to be a kicker. And I was like, all right, I'll be a kicker, sure. You wanted me to play football to be a kicker? He's like, well, you play soccer. I was like, all right, fine. So then I started as kicker, and then he saw how fast I was, and then he switched me to running back and kicker. And then he saw how hard I hit, so he put me on running back, kicker, and linebacker.
Oh, man.
It was like, dude, you're going to have to do something for me now. Like, I can play band more, so he upgraded me to 8th grade jazz band, because he said, you're great at classical, but you're putting a little too much stank on this Beethoven. So
Okay.
you're going to have to go to jazz band. Go do that.
Right on.
So he put me to jazz band, and that was it. From that point on, we had a guitar player in class who was supposed to play trombone, but he also played guitar. And I was like, dude, I want to do that. Like, what is that? And that was it for me.
Now talk about the old P bass that you found.
That's heartbreaking.
Do you still have it?
No,
You
I
don't.
don't
Okay.
still have it.
Okay.
And it's very hard to talk about because it was my grandfather's P bass. And
Okay.
it was very old bass from the 60s. And I found it cleaning out my grandmother's garage. And I just happened to find it. I was like, what is this? It's like, it was covered. I think it was like jet brown. It was like as brown as that garbage can over there.
Okay.
And it was just so gross and
Yes,
so dirty.
we're sitting outside, by the way.
We are outside.
That's
now.
why you can hear
We
the
are
birds
outside.
singing.
You hear birds and wind and footsteps and squirrels. But no, I found that bass and I just wanted to know what it was. It only had 2 strings on it, so I cleaned it up and shined it up real nice. And still, I think the bridge was broken, so the only two strings could work. So I was like, all right, well, I'll fiddle around with it and see if I can get it to work. So I got sound. So I was like, okay, I got sound. I'm good. I can try to, do what the kid on guitar in my jazz class was doing.
There you go.
So I was like, fine, I can learn something. So I learned Tracy Chapman, Give Me One Reason.
Yeah.
And then I learned some other Funk Brothers stuff. And it was very limiting because there's only 2 strings.
Right.
And then I think a year had passed and I was still playing those 2 strings, happily, mind you. And my mom was like, you know what? Open this gift right here. And it was like, it was a bridge. And I was like, I don't really know what this is, but thank you. And then, I didn't think anything of it. And the next thing I know, she said, all right, here's something else, like a week later. And that bridge was now on the bass that I found. And
Wow.
It said Badass Bass on it. Badass Bass 2. It was a Badass Bass bridge. And I was like, all right, I can get 4 strings now? Or is that what this is for? Because I knew nothing about guitars at all. So yeah, then she got me some strings. And I was like, ooh, more notes and more things I can do. And then I just started playing bass. And that was my first love, first stringed instrument.
Wow.
And then after that, I went to piano. And then after that, I went to saxophone. Then after that, harmonica. And then so on and so forth. Many instruments later, finally got a guitar. It was a bright red Squire
Okay.
Strat style guitar. And it sounded like trash. But I loved it to death, and I started, doing my thing with that guitar. So
That is so cool. Now, I've got to have you tell another story
yeah,
because I read this and I thought I got to hear it. Tell me about the first time you heard the blues coming from that cherry red T-top Camaro.
dude, man,
Who was
okay.
driving it, and
Who
what
was
did you
driving?
hear?
All right,
tell me about
Here's
it.
how it went down. I got this uncle, right?
Yep.
I call him Jamerson because that's his name. He wants people to call him Jay or whatever. It's like, you ain't that cool to me, bro. You just Jamerson with the big ears. That's all you are. You're just my uncle. And but he was only like 6 or 7 years older than me, so he's pretty much like my older brother growing up. We got into a bunch of stuff and
Sure.
but yeah, he had this bright red 1999 or 98 T-top Camaro, and he was supposed to pick me up and take me to my grandmother's house where he lived at the time. And so he picked me up, but all I heard was doom 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 tsk, doom 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 tsk, doom doom. I was like, wait, what is that? And he pulled up, and he had like these 15-inch speakers in his car because, you know, he was trying to. That's what they did back then.
Sure,
they still
sure.
do it now, kind of. And that's all you heard was the bass. And I was like, what is that? I don't know what that is. And so he comes in, and I'm like, what was that song? He's like, oh, that was a Thrill Is Gone. And I was like, well, who is that? He's like, it's B.B. King, boy. I was like, oh, okay, that explains it. Cool, thanks. Because at the time, the only blues record I had ever heard was The Simpsons Sing the Blues. Right. Right. That's where my blues journey started. The Simpsons.
The Simpsons.
Lisa Simpson sings the blues. Moaning Lisa Blues, by the way. That's where it started. But I don't tell people that part.
I'm making a note for myself.
The B.B. King part.
I'm making a note for myself to look for this album.
Dude, it's hard to find now. It's hard
Yeah.
to find. They might have it on the internet. It's the internet days now. But,
Sure.
But yeah, I heard that first B.B. King note, and I was done, man. I looked up every single thing that B.B. King had ever did because I was like, that's the guitar I want to play because I was
Right.
more into jazz back then too.
Right.
'cause I was playing trumpet, so I was still doubling jazz with trumpet, and then now I've got this new sound that I didn't know existed.
So I'm going to stop
That's
you right.
awesome.
I'm going to stop you right there because I want to read something to the listeners, and then I've got a question for you about what I'm about to read here.
All right.
This is, I don't know if you wrote this or if your mom wrote this or what, but it said he spent days locked away in his room. And after learning every B.B. King, Albert King, and Freddie King song note for note for 6 months, he wrote his first album at the age of 15, Shades of Blue, locked away studying the famed Kings of the Blues,
Yeah.
sorry, as they were known.
Absolutely.
Now, you started recording your own music at 15.
Right.
I was talking to Amber about this earlier. Amber is the photographer, the gal that sells all the merch. I mean,
Right.
she's at all the concerts. And we were sitting here talking before you got here, and she was talking about that. But it's a story in and of itself because not many 15-year-olds are going to sit down and show that kind of dedication.
No, they wouldn't.
And
No,
and
not-
when
not
most
normally.
kids are wanting a PlayStation, what did you get?
Man, look, I wanted that PlayStation so bad. Oh, everyone, all of my friends, because I grew up in Farmington too. And,
Sure.
all my friends had them, and I was like, I'm tired of coming to y'all house. I just want to play it by myself. And yeah, I asked for one, which I never asked for anything. Like my parents know, they're like, oh, we get him whatever, and he's happy with it. He's fine. But I was like, hey, so how about that PlayStation though? Like a lot of these kids have PlayStations, and she was like, okay, and that's all she said. And then come Christmas, or I think it was a birthday. My birthday, she had the box, and I was like, all right, cool. And I opened it, and it said Tascam. I was like, I don't know what this is. This is like the badass bass situation all over again. So it was a Tascam 4-track analog mixer. I was like, all right, this is cool, but what do I do with it? Like, she's like, oh, you can put music on it. Like, you can record, and like, you can record yourself playing guitar, and then you can like rewind it and go back and record yourself playing something else. I was like, oh, that might be fun. All right. So I took it in my room, hooked it up, didn't know what I was doing, and just hit record. And I was like, okay, do I plug into it, or I don't know. I didn't know what to do. So eventually I figured it out, and yeah, recorded Shades of Blue by myself in the room. She did have a drum pad that her partner had bought her, so I would try to play all the beats on this stupid little drum pad, which sounded like crap to a real drummer.
So you basically did you do everything on the album?
Every single thing on every album until She's Breaking Me. That was the first time I took a band into a room to record noise.
So you put the first, what is that, 5? Is
First
that 4?
Let's see, Shades of Blue, C, Sunshine, Pure as Gold. I think there's one more. Is there one more? And then I think it goes She's Breaking Me. So the first 4 or 5 was all me, even the horn section. And I only had 4 tracks, so I had to figure out a way to get more instruments
Sure.
instead of having only 4. So I was like, okay, well, if I record one track, can I like record and then have that track playing so I can double up on tracks and just do it that way? And I figured out later that that's called bouncing. So
Okay.
you record one track and then you play it and you record something else, and now you have 2 instruments on one track.
Wow.
But I had to keep doing that back and forth, back and forth. And the problem with doing it that way is you have to play it perfectly every time and in time.
Oh,
with
I can
yourself.
imagine. Yeah.
So it's like, it was a headache. So that's why I'm so good now at keeping like drummer time, because I've had to do it by myself so much. So yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And you know, you released that first album, and shortly thereafter, you were exposed to Iwana.
Yeah, you want to fire Taylor.
Yeah, tell me that story, man.
Yeah.
You 15 years old at the time?
I was 15 still. Yep.
Wow.
Almost 16. I was getting there, getting to the to the age of 16. And but yeah, what had happened was I was playing in Ipsy, and this was after the Neutral Zone and the Teen Center, and I got, you know, I was an ambassador for teens in Ann Arbor, and helped the Neutral Zone like build a studio so that they could have teens go into the studio and they could like produce an entire album.
Really?
And,
Is that still there?
The Neutral Zone moved, so I don't know
Okay.
if they kept the studio that we all built. But
Okay.
the original Neutral Zone on Main Street in Ann Arbor, the building is still there.
Okay.
But they probably moved the studio. But we had sound reinforcement and everything. It was awesome. And
I mean, that's really cool.
teens could like go in and like record a whole whatever they want, and then, you know, it was a cool spot. It was a really cool spot. But so yeah, after that I won a talent show by, again, using my weird bounce tracks. I was able to take out my voice and guitar and then have that track behind me. I made my own like live track, so to speak, because I didn't know what I was doing. So
Well, you clearly figured it out.
I figured it out. I could perform the song, I could play the solos and sing, but have the whole track still be behind me. And then I won the competition for that. And then after that, I started going to Ipsy, and my mom was recording me like play at these blues jams, and it was the Tap Room at the time. And Iwana used to go to the Tap Room, and she saw me. She was like, "Oh, we gotta have you, baby. So we gonna take you on the road with us." So I hit the road with with Iwana, and then after Iwana, I eventually met Thornetta too.
Okay. Yeah. And I was gonna kind of ping pong into that. When you were like 18, you basically were taken under the wing of Thornetta Davis, who is phenomenal in the
Thornetta's
Detroit
great.
blues scene. I
Thornetta,
mean,
she's the queen. I mean, she's great.
you got the Prince, you got the Queen. I
Right.
mean,
I would consider we need a king. Like, I didn't want to be king because kings are, you know, they're up there. They've been doing stuff. So I would say like maybe Larry might be the king.
yeah.
Let's say he's the king.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, he's another guy that's very much like yourself, very humble.
Yeah.
And I think
is.
he might
He's a
argue
great
with
guy.
you, and you might say, no.
He'll say that if you interview him and you say, yeah, you're gonna be the king of Detroit blues, and he'd be like, oh no, there's somebody else out there. I'm sure there's somebody else better than me out there. I love Larry though.
Larry is he's one of a kind. I met him several years ago. I worked in radio in Lansing, and I remember them doing Blues on the Square, and Larry was like a regular at Blues on the Square. And then, you know, I got out of radio, and several years went by, and WMMQ was having their birthday bash, and they happened to have Larry.
Ah, yeah.
Played right over here on Saginaw.
Okay.
Over at the I can't remember the name of the bar now. It changed names now.
Changed, yeah.
But he did their birthday bash, and it was so much fun because I hadn't heard Larry in quite a while. But Larry's one of those people that never gets full of himself. He's
Right.
always very personal.
Always.
I got to see him earlier this spring, and I brought my son with me because I wanted him to come and hear Larry.
yeah. Is
And
that the son I met?
no, that was my nephew.
That was your nephew?
And
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to meet my son.
Can't wait.
Yeah, he's definitely getting into the blues. And I had told Larry that he, you know, was kind of playing guitar a little bit. And he goes, "Oh, you pick strings, huh?" He says, "I'll tell you what." He says, "When you're ready, you know, and you want to sit down and pick some strings together, you know, and you're ready to share your music,
For sure.
be happy to do it with you." And I looked at him
yeah.
and I'm like, "Do you realize what just happened?"
Right.
I mean, he's every bit as legendary as Thornetta, Toronzo. In my opinion, he may not be on that level of Buddy Guy, but he's damn close.
He's up there, dude.
He's
Like,
definitely up
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But still one of the most humble, kind, personable individuals you ever want to meet.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I know I'm not telling you anything.
For sure. Oh yeah, I've played with Larry a couple times, man.
Yep.
He's always been cool, always been humble, always just down home, down south kind of guy, man. He's just awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. His skill is immeasurable. His skill and his voice. What's funny is I write a lot of songs, right? And sometimes I hear different voices in my head, not in a bad way or anything, but I don't answer them, but at least. So I hear a lot of voices in my head when I'm writing songs, and certain songs, I'm like, man, this has got a Little Milton feel to it. Like Little Milton should be singing this. And I've had that moment on this newest album. I wrote a song and I was like, I hear Larry's voice. I just hear it. It's got to be boomy, and it's got to have that slight back of the throat nasal lift to it, but it still has to have depth in it. And I want Larry's voice on it. And I ended up not contacting Larry to be like, hey, I got a song for you. And because I was like, he's going to say no. He's not going to want to sing on a song that I wrote. He likes to write his own song. So I never contacted him, and I regret it.
You're talking about the album Detroit.
Yeah.
You going to tell me the song?
I don't know if I can.
Come on.
I don't know, man.
Come on, tell me.
I still might contact him. I still might be like, hey, I want you to sing this song.
You won't share, huh?
If he says yes, then I'll tell you.
Okay. If he says yes, I'm going to have you both back. How's that?
Yeah. Well, okay, I'll tell you. It was Detroit. But it was written differently back then.
Okay.
So I might have to play you the original version that I had in mind before I finally landed on the Detroit we have now, because it's a little bit different.
Is it okay, let me ask you this. Is it something better suited acoustically?
Maybe.
Okay, why don't you do it?
'cause I wrote it
Why
on
don't you do it at
acoustic.
Horrocks?
Yeah, I'll do it at Horrocks next week.
Because I'll be there.
Okay.
You know I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
As soon as I found out, I'm going to get my son. I'm going to come out because that's a Friday
Yeah.
night.
Make sure.
And-
Also make sure your son brings a guitar, just in case.
Yeah, no.
He won't do it?
No.
No? Why
no,
not?
he's not ready yet.
Oh, come on.
He's like me with the bass.
Either.
I just picked up the bass and started playing, and I was talking to DC about it.
Right.
He's like, "Oh man, you playing the bass?" I said, "Well, I just got the bass.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten there yet."
We could
But
we should just do like a trio for like a song or two. And you don't need look, I learned on 2 strings, the whole songs, them 2 strings. So if I could do the 2 strings, how many strings you got?
I got 4.
got
Actually, I got
4,
4, and I got another one that's got 5.
You got
Because
2 basses?
I'm one of these idiots that goes out and listen. Look at my setup. I've thrown bad money after good getting the setup that
Right.
I've got right now for doing this podcast.
And it sounds good.
And I've got considering the badass bass. This is the badass podcast.
Exactly.
setup.
Right.
And I absolutely love it. Well, I'm one of those people. I don't want to do things half-assed when it comes to playing music.
Thank you.
So I picked up a Fender. What's the cheaper Fender bass?
A Squire?
I think
Like
it is a Fender Squire
bass?
bass. Yeah. And I got a little Rumble 15. I mean, it's nothing fancy, but I got a gig bag for it. And then I picked up this. I can't remember the other one, but I have another bass that it's a 5-string. So because I would really like to learn the 5-string bass as opposed to the 4.
Okay.
That way I can still play the 4.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
But
It
listen,
is different.
we are going to wrap up this episode.
Yes, sir.
We have
Yes, sir.
already shot through almost 29 minutes here. But I really, my guest has been Chris Canas. He's a wonderful musician. If you want to check out his music, Chris, where can they find you?
All right, you can check us out at chriscanas.com or .net. Doesn't matter. We got both. You
Right
can
on.
check us out on Facebook. It'd be Chris Canas Blues on Facebook, The Chris Canas on Instagram, and I'm not sure if I even have a Snapchat anymore. So you can check if you like. It's Chris Canas either way.
And he's got 7 albums out there for you to choose from. Detroit, we're going to talk about that on the next episode
Yes, sir.
because I love that album. That was the first music that I discovered you on.
Oh, okay.
And we're definitely going to talk more about that. But tune in next time. We will have Chris Canas back here one more time, and we're looking forward to it.
This has been Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan. For more information on cabs, visit capitalareablues.org. You can find this episode and past episodes at lcconnect.org. The Time Signatures theme song, Michigan Roads, is used by permission and was written by Root Doctor, featuring Freddie Cunningham.
You know I'm trying, baby, driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
Until next time, keep on keeping the blues alive.